Yeah, if you give me $1 billion, you can shit on me every day. Some think that if he didn't have the Sanders last name, he wouldn't be a first-round pick.
Anthony Edwards has the potential to be the face of the NBA.
Well, now I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers might be the problem.
Jalen Daniels wins the MVP next season. Deebo Samuel got traded for a 5th-round pick. I still can't believe that. What kind of impact does that have for Washington?
I played in 13 seasons.
How many technicals did you have? Isaiah Bond was talking shit, saying he was going to run a 4.1. He goes out there and runs a 4.4.
Carry on the narrative. Best in class, so pray for my peers. Slingshot bullet, it's clear. Your weak shots couldn't pierce through bulletproof ears. A martyr, a menace. I'm leading horses to drink and pulling teeth like I'm feeding the dentist. Carry on the narrative.
Welcome to another edition of The Crossover. Today we're going to get into a lot of different topics. First topic is the comments LeBron James said about Anthony Edwards not, refusing to be the face of the NBA. KD, what are your thoughts?
Man, LeBron came in the game, and there was a lot of expectations. There was nicknames, the King, all these different things, and so I know that experience personally, comes with a lot of responsibility. So I can understand when you've been doing it as long as he's been doing it, it can get a little bit monotonous. It could get a little bit like, it could just wear you down a little bit. So the pressure that comes along with being the face of the NBA, I can understand his comments on it. However, being the face of the NBA gives you the ability and the access to become a billionaire. So it's it's a double-edged sword, but at the end of the day, too much is given, much is required. And Anthony Edwards has the potential to be the face of the NBA. Now, what LeBron could do is he could potty train him, he could mentor him, and he could give him some insight on where he might have went wrong and what he really kind of did well, so that it could speed up his learning curve. But to say that you don't want to be the face of the NBA, or I don't know if that was his quote specifically.
I have his quote right here.
What is his quote?
So Channing Frye said it the other day. Why do you want to be the face of the league when all the people that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis shit on everybody?
Yeah. Well, there's people who celebrate you. There's people who criticize you. There's people who critique you. The media is a big part of the growth in the conversation around the game, and so you need it. When nobody's talking about it, nobody's writing about it, nobody's reading it, you don't have the access to the fans. You don't get to tell your story, or you don't get to let people have their opinions on you.
Yeah, if you give me $1 billion, you can shit on me every day. No problem. Nevin, you've had $1 billion.
Yes, you have.
And you've been shitting on me.
Yeah. Boy, how do you come back from that? So, yeah, I mean, I echo the same sentiments Keyon says. I think LeBron's been doing it for so long. He's been doing it 20 years, man. That is it's just like you got to really wrap your arm. Man, that's longer than my sentence. I mean, that's crazy, man. That's a long time, man.
Right.
Except he wasn't on a bus. But anyway, that's a long time, and I think you do get tired. Like, it's human, and I think he's just like he's feeling exhausted from the process. And yeah, he's come up and he has an amazing life, and his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, everyone's generations long after he's gone will benefit from him being the face of the NBA.
Absolutely.
So I understand where his comments came from. It could be frustration, exhaustion, but a lot's come his way as a result.
Absolutely. Stephen A. Smith made some comments, said it was BS. What are your thoughts on his comments?
Well, I like Stephen A. Smith a lot. Sometimes I could pass on some of the extra stuff, but
his antics.
Yeah, but I think he's spot on, man. And I don't think he's wrong for the way he responded. In all honesty, I think you got to call it the way it is, man. The game has been really good to you and your family and your family's family, and I think he was within his right to make those comments.
Katie, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Anthony Edwards, why wouldn't you want to take that mantle? It's such only few get that opportunity, and he could be one of the few to carry the next generation of this game.
I think it's a maturity thing, number one. I think while you're in the game, sometimes you don't really understand, how precious the time is. You think you'll be able to do it forever, and you're not in the moment, right? So I think for Anthony, one, I think the market that he's in is a smaller market, so it's going to be hard to have that big impact if he was, compared to if he was in a bigger market. But also, like, there's a lot of criticism that comes along with some of the things he goes through off the court and things like that. And guys want their peace of mind. Guys don't want their business, kind of being polarizing and things like that. So I just think that the responsibility and the criticism that comes along with being a face, sometimes it just can be overwhelming, and it could somewhat, take the joy, the fun, the love, the joy, the happiness, the freedom that you get in the game away from it.
Sure, sure. So how many years did you play in the NBA? Remind me again.
I played in 13 seasons.
How many technicals did you have?
I cannot recall, but
Is it
probably
16 or is it less than 16?
it was definitely less than 16 for my career. Definitely.
Oh boy hit it.
Definitely.
Oh boy hit it before March.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andy,
What season?
I didn't even play in the NBA, and I got 16 technicals, and that's just from my front court seats.
Yeah.
I bet, man. Yeah. So he's a talent, man. I love watching him play. He is the future of the game, in my opinion. But you're right. He needs to mature a little bit.
Yeah. And he's young, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Absolutely. So now let's transition to KD, the other KD, Kevin Durant. Reports came out yesterday that the Suns are willing to trade him to a contender during the summer. What are your thoughts on that, KD? And where does KD rank now amongst best basketball players in the league?
Okay, well, I'll start with the second part. I think he's still in the top 10, top 12 players in the NBA. What he does on a night-to-night basis, the matchup problems. A lot of times people, discount how available he is and how committed he is to the game and how much he loves the game. The guy is 10 toes down in the game. He loves the game. I was watching a Netflix special the other day, and he was crying because the game meant so much to him. And like that part of KD, I respect it. A lot of his teammates enjoy playing with him. He still can go and get a bucket. He's still good on the defensive end. So I think he's very, very, still one of the top players in the NBA.
Right.
As far as the Suns willing to part ways with him in the summertime, that's yet to be seen.
Right.
But I think it'll be a good thing. I
Yeah.
think, he worked hard. He committed to that organization. He didn't want to leave in the middle of the season. And so it's a part of the business. It's capitalism at its finest. And hopefully they find a good home for him where he can go and continue to build on his legacy.
Right. Nav, what are your thoughts on KD's situation?
I think that he's an all-time great. I don't think he did something wrong by going to the Warriors. That's today's world.
Agreed.
Right? This isn't the 90s or the 80s where it was just venom, and you don't, like, if you're on Boston, you never go to the Lakers, or if you're Philly, you never go to the Lakers. We're in a new world, and as we were speaking before we started doing this, it's a generational thing in life, and just everything.
And it's not fair to him. Look, the Celtics did it with Garnett and Ray Allen. The Heat did it, the Big Three. So I mean, it's just the way of
right.
You gotta,
and I do see KD. I just think that Miami becomes when Miami flirts with somebody so long, they typically get them. Like I thought they would get Damian Lillard. I don't think they're gonna miss. I think even though I'm extending the question, I think they get the Greek Freak or KD.
Mm-hmm.
I think they end up with one of those two guys.
Miami does.
I hope so.
Yeah, I'm almost certain of it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
My premonition tells me.
Yeah, they're talking about KD going back to Oklahoma. They will entertain it to pair him with SGA, which would be unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, I think for some reason I just see him landing in Miami.
Got it. And KD, I have this question for you. The Suns on paper have a great team. What happened this season, man?
Chemistry. I mean, it's one thing to have, a big three, right, and guys who can get buckets, but what are you surrounding them with? Do you have the right mix of veterans, facilitators, defenders, rebounders, energy guys? And and also, front office, coaching, that whole, organization plays a role in what product you put on the court. And I don't think it was assembled the right way. At the end of the day, their big three, a lot of them do kind of similar things. I know Booker tried to adjust his game to become more of a facilitator, but he's just such a gifted young scorer that it'll you don't want him thinking. You want him being able to react and play. So I just don't think they have the right chemistry, and it just hasn't worked out.
So one of the knocks on KD's is leadership, in the media. What are your thoughts on his leadership, and is that the problem? They don't have a true leader. Booker could have been that guy. Bradley Beal apparently isn't that guy. KD should be the guy, but what are your thoughts and what are you hearing throughout the league on his leadership?
Well, to me, leadership is not about your position. It's more about your disposition, right? And I don't think just because you're the best player on a team that you have to be the heart and soul and the spirit and the voice of a team. Naturally, he's a little bit more quiet and reserved, smooth DC cat, right? And so I look back at the Spurs. David Robinson, Tim Duncan were, Hall of Famers. But Avery Johnson, the general, was the spirit. He was the
One of the
vocal
best
leader.
all-time voices.
Right? He was the vocal leader. He was the guy who,
I used to hate his little left-handed ass.
Man, Avery used to get it done. And so I don't think, as a superstar player, you have to be a leader. Now, you have to have leadership qualities.
Sure.
But you don't necessarily have to be a verbal leader. And the last thing I'll say about KD is if you go and talk to his old teammates, his ex-teammates, nobody questions his professionalism, his availability, his commitment to the game, and him being a good teammate. And so I think it's a narrative that somewhat has been created
by the media.
By the media, just on the outside looking in, their expectations on him.
He's a little awkward, a little weird, and I think they pick on some of that as well. But you're right. You're right.
Yeah, he
His
loved
game
the game.
speaks for himself, man.
He loved the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's transition now to the Lakers. Number 2 seed right now in the West. JJ Redick is doing a phenomenal job. They got Luka. What are your thoughts on the Lakers running the table?
Well, man, shout out to my former teammate, JJ Redick. What a guy. I had JJ when he got drafted to the Magic, and you just saw his commitment, his development. He's always had a good feel for the game. But to see him, totally transform, he looks like a coach now, right? You can see the sleeplessness in his eyes. Yeah. You can hear him. You can hear some of the residues of some of the coaches that he played for in his press conferences. And to have that team clicking on all cylinders, to be able to make an in-season move that gets you one of the top 5 best players in the league, and to be able to, have that chemistry, you got to really salute JJ. He's doing a phenomenal job as a young coach.
And he took a lot of criticism from the media when he got that job. LeBron basically handpicked him, put him in that position. And man, he's called, he's done a great job.
Yeah, no, he's surpassed my expectations by a wide margin. I saw them as, maybe not a play-in team, but not far.
8 or 7 seed.
Not far. Yeah, and so, to have them where he has them is, really a testament to his skill set as a coach.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
And you have a better eye for this, but I think they're built to make a run. With Luka now and LeBron and the pieces that they have, I think they can make a deep run into the playoffs and maybe get to the finals.
Well, I don't know if they'll make it to the finals. I think there's so much talent and so many potential matchup problems for them, especially up front. Joker is just a matchup problem for any team.
They haven't been playing well, though. I know it'll be different in the playoffs.
They haven't. They haven't, but they're definitely a contender. They definitely have. They're definitely one of the 8 teams that could win it all.
Got it. Do you put Minnesota in that conversation?
No, not this year. I think they regressed.
You think they went backwards?
Yeah, I think they regressed over the season. But they didn't start out strong last year, but they found their rhythm going into the playoffs. But I think they took a step back from a chemistry.
Yeah, and another team that's very hot right now is Golden State. They're playing very, very good ball. And what's stood out to me is their defensive. I think they're 6 in points given up. I'm not sure, and we can look this up. But their defensive stats are top 5 in the league right now. Yeah. In the past, I think 10 or 15 games. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you got Draymond on the team. Draymond is a guy who can guard 1 through 5. He can defend on the post. He can switch off and guard a point guard, in a switch situation. And so Draymond is an ultimate glue guy, especially on the defensive end. And then you get Jimmy. I think one of the most underrated things about Jimmy is his ability to defend. People don't realize it because he's become a one option or a superstar player, all-star player. But he was a put your, boots and your hard hat on. He was a knuckle up type guy, especially in Chicago early in his career. So Jimmy has always played on both ends of the floor. And I think there's a certain excitement when you get a trade and you get a player who, brings that kind of toughness and that kind of skill set and that kind of pedigree, that it just is kind of, re-energized now.
Yeah, so I went to the 2016 Olympics down in Vegas where they were practicing. We did the whole fantasy camp thing, but I went to dinner with Jay Wright, and I asked Jay Wright, like, you have KD, you got Kyrie Irving. I asked him who's the player that's standing out. He said Jimmy Butler. He said he's a dog.
Yes, he
He
is.
said he's a dog on the defensive side, on
Yes,
the
he is.
offensive side. I said, really, Jimmy Butler? I was taken back. He said Jimmy's the best player in here, by far, two-way player we have.
Well, they're getting a playoff Jimmy.
Right.
Motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is when you want him.
Right.
Like the lights on,
Right.
not off. This is.
Did
this
he
is,
fuck up?
That's a hard question to answer. It could go either way. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. I can't answer that. I can't answer that. I can't answer that. If Golden
If he would have been playing like this, I would have said they should have re-signed him. But he wasn't playing like this. He was barely on the court. He was hurt. There was a lot of stuff going on with Jimmy.
I think Keyon said it in our last episode about, like, when it's a business and
Right.
when it's time. You gotta,
And that's been the knock on Jimmy.
it's time.
Yeah.
It's like he was pushing for the divorce.
Right. He was.
Right. So, I can't tell you if they made the right decision or not because the weather changes in the middle of the day.
Yeah. So does it bother you, the on and off switch?
No, I don't think he turns it on or off. I disagree with that perspective.
Okay.
Because, like, when Jimmy is playing and he's on the court and he's healthy, he's always giving 100%. I think sometimes what we miss the mark is that it is a business as well.
Mhm.
And he was up for a potential extension, and his window is shrinking. And if you continue to go into a contract year and you don't have that long-term stability, because his long-term is maybe 2 years, 3 years. And so he wanted to maximize that, and he saw the writing on the wall, and he just exercised his power. Only max players can really do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's doing something that 95% of the NBA can't do.
Right.
Business move.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
he got
it.
120 mil. I mean, I can't blame the guy.
Yeah.
It worked out for him.
You never spend someone else's money, man.
Yeah.
Does he
just
look
wanna know.
motivated?
Yeah.
Must be the money.
Man,
It
that's
worked.
you're getting playoff
Yeah.
Jimmy. Like we were talking about someone else in a contract.
Yeah.
Contract. This is it.
This is
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see how it shakes out, and we'll see what kind of run they do in the
Yeah.
playoffs. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So now let's switch it into the NFL. A lot of news coming out of the NFL. Matthew Stafford re-signed with the Rams. Nevin, what are your thoughts?
Well, I put out my information that I had, and obviously I've been on Cam Ward to the Giants from the jump, and I had gotten some feedback that Matthew Stafford had family that was now part of the Giants organization, and I know there was conversations that were taking place internally. They were divided. Cam Ward has always been their guy, but Matt Stafford became an option, and the Rams, didn't want to lose him. They probably said test the market, and they they came up with a deal that fits both sides.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good deal for both parties, really.
And you weren't off on the Giants thing. I was part of the conversation, so I heard
Yeah.
what they were saying out of Giants camp,
Mhm.
or the sources close to the Giants. But
Yeah.
one of the things that Stafford was looking at, I think his brother-in-law is one of the offensive coordinators, if not the co-offensive coordinator
Yeah.
with the Giants. And
Yeah.
that's another reason why he was, wanting to get
Mhm.
traded to the Giants.
And that was the only reason why I had shifted that dynamic. I didn't shift it. If the Giants don't win, it's Cam Ward or bust.
Right.
That has not changed
Mhm.
since I was given that information.
So that leads me into my next thing. I don't know if you got any perspective on Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
before.
I mean, look, kudos to the Rams and Matt Stafford for getting that done, because, one, they said, hey, look, go explore your options. See what's out there. Come back to us. We want you, but we want you at the right price, right? And so I think they negotiated and had those conversations in good faith, unlike with Barkley with the Giants in the previous season. I think they rubbed him so much the wrong way. I think the running back position has been devalued. So, he didn't give them that opportunity to come back because he really was the franchise player.
What a mistake.
What a
Right.
mistake.
Well,
Oh,
is that one of the
colossal.
biggest
What a
mistakes
mistake.
in NFL history?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. On two different extremes, the way the Giants look and the way it ended up for him.
yeah, right.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, he could have been the all-time leading rusher for an individual season easily, and he won a Super Bowl, which they'll never take that away. from
Right.
him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Giants organization, man, it's just ran very, very poorly.
For Daniel Jones, by the way.
Yeah, which got released. It's not.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah, but I like the move by the Rams. I like them retaining.
Yeah.
Stafford.
Rams got a good team, man. They were there into the fourth quarter with the Eagles, and they played in a game, in a game that had a lot of snow. The field conditions weren't great.
Mhm.
They had a shot to win that game.
Yeah.
They were in it.
Sean McVay is a guru, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a whisperer.
Absolutely. And that defense is very good. That defensive line is solid. Their defensive backs are very, very good. That team's gonna make some noise again.
Sean
this season.
McVay's coaching tree is like the old Bill Walsh coaching tree. Mike Holmgren, guys that coach under him do big things.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Where do you rank Matthew Stafford now amongst other quarterbacks in the league?
Always had a great arm. Played in a downtrodden squad in Detroit. Not current Detroit, but in past. He was going the route of where Barry Sanders retired early, and where dreams die. And he went to
Megatron too, right?
yeah, and he went. Yeah, I think he's that's such a brutal sport, man. It's gladiator sport, and that position, if they get two more good years out of him,
Mm-hmm.
they did great. I think he's certainly upper half of quarterbacks just on his experience, and like he could just show up, and if he's healthy, he's there.
He's there. Katie, any more thoughts on the Stafford?
No, I think he's one of the top 12, 15 quarterbacks in the NFL. I think it's the most important position in that sport. I don't think you can replicate the experience that he has. I think there's a learning curve as a quarterback. And so I don't think you can just go get that in the draft. You don't necessarily just get that kind of pedigree in a free agent move if you choose to part ways with him. So I think it makes sense for the Rams to retain him and keep him on board.
Great. So leading into my next thing, we're talking about the Giants. Now there's talks about the Giants moving up to the first pick, which we have been reporting. You've been reporting that they've been trying to put a package. They don't have enough, and the Jets are also in the mix. What are your thoughts on that current situation, and does it happen? Do you think the Titans trade out of that pick?
I think they do. I really think they do. There's too much to gain owning that top pick in collateral. Like you can pick up a lot of pieces from a trade like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like the days of maybe like the Herschel Walker trade everyone always refers back to, where Jimmy Johnson got like 8 players and redid the Cowboys dynasty or started it on that. But because there's no player out there that you would say Cam Ward may be great, Shedeur Sanders may be great. There's no one that you're gonna be like, this guy's a guaranteed lock. So I do think Tennessee does trade out of that. Who gets him? My sources say it's the Giants have always wanted him, but the Jets have more to offer.
Right.
So I don't hedge my bet.
Right. KD, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, if if the Titans, can get the player that they target that they feel like can help their team at the 3rd or 4th pick, it makes sense to kind of trade and get those assets. So it'll be fun. I think this is the great part of this time in the NFL season. The combine, the draft is coming up. You got free agency, you got Deebo and people getting traded, you got people getting cut, and you got people getting waived. So I'm gonna just sit back, have my popcorn ready, and just soak it all in.
Rumor Central is the best.
Yeah, it's fun.
Absolutely.
It's a fun
What?
part of the game.
I mean, it's
fun
the
part.
best.
Right.
And so yeah, I agree with Keyon. I mean, it's the best.
Yeah. I think Cam is gonna be. He's going to be a 10, 12-year, 15-year player in this league. Not so sure about Shedeur, and that's going to lead to my next thing. Shedeur went to the combine. He made some comments. He's improved every situation he's been at. There's a lot of back and forth for Shedeur from NFL scouts. Some think that if he didn't have the Sanders last name, he wouldn't be a first-round pick. Katie, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Shedeur and the comments he made?
Well, I mean, Shedeur has proven to be a winner on every level, from high school to Jackson State to Colorado. He comes from a pedigree of confidence and talent and skill set, and unity.
Right.
So he exudes that when he speaks, and his belief in himself. See, confidence is a superpower. It's very easy to lose your confidence. It's really, really hard to have that agape, superior, supreme confidence. And I think he has that. And a lot of players just don't have it. And so I think he's a guy who will go high in the draft. I think he'll have a good career. I think he's big enough. He's smart. He's cerebral. He's a proven winner. He's got leadership qualities. He's tough. And I think I think his game will transition pretty good in the NFL.
Nev.
That's the hardest position to scout in sports. Period.
Agreed.
It is.
Agreed.
It is like.
Agreed.
Here's your case in point, Exhibit 1. Tom Brady. That guy. Did you remember his workout or his
Right.
his
it was
40?
awful.
It was deplorable, right? He's only the greatest ever.
Right.
Maybe arguably, maybe not, right? But he's no matter what, he's in that conversation. It's the hardest position to scout
And evaluate.
and evaluate. It just is. I look at here's my issue with Shedeur Sanders as I see it. I look at his bowl game and I saw a lot of heat coming at him from BYU, and he got rattled bad. Does that mean he's not a great quarterback or can't be a great quarterback? I don't know, but that's how he reacted with a bad offensive line.
Yeah, the knock on him is he holds on to the ball.
I saw some things I didn't like personally.
Yeah.
When I look at Cam Ward,
Yeah.
and I keep referring in every whatever podcasts or interviews I do regarding Cam Ward, I just refer to that game against the Gators. Moved out of the pocket, stops, plants, bing, BB, back of the end zone to Jacoby George.
Yeah, that's not normal.
You cannot coach that.
No, you can't teach that.
Like you don't coach that.
Yeah.
You got it or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I put him above Shedeur Sanders. Not to say Shedeur Sanders won't be a great quarterback. Maybe he does.
Who would you compare Shedeur's game to in the NFL?
Typically I'm pretty good with that
Right.
comparison.
I know. Usually you are.
Yeah, and I don't have one.
And how about Cam Ward?
He's also very different.
Right.
He's also very different. He's somewhat, athletic, but he's cool athletic.
Right. Right.
Like some dudes are
Smooth
just
as-
chilling. Some dudes are just flowing.
Was yeah, smooth as the other side of the pillow.
Yeah, man. And so he's got a combination of a few guys. I don't see one.
Yeah.
I see a few.
Yeah, it's very interesting the contrast between both of them, right? Cam Ward and Shedeur, where you can't even compare them to somebody now in the NFL. Like, it's
Right.
just crazy. They're very different.
And here's one thing, Andy, that I really, really think so highly of
Right.
as it relates to Cam Ward. He was a 0-star recruit, man.
Mm.
He is made. He made himself,
Right,
man.
right.
Whatever coaching he had along the way certainly helped,
Yeah.
no question. But man, I'm so impressed with that kid.
So there was a comparison that I saw on Shedeur. They compared him to Tua, right-handed Tua.
Maybe you should answer that.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't want to expose you.
I think Tua's a great kid. The Dolphins should have never drafted him, but that's a whole
Yeah,
conversation. for
yeah.
another day. But that's who they compare him to: accuracy, arm talent, that type of same player. I just don't know. I'm on the bubble with him. I see Cam. I see him 12 years, 15 years in the league.
Yeah.
I don't know if I see that with Shedeur yet. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I wonder if there is some like real serious type prospects that were coming out of the quarterback positions, say like an Andrew Luck from that era, or guys that were like can't miss guys. I wonder how these guys would be compared
To them,
to them,
right?
because is it just an attrition thing
Mhm.
where there's only so many quarterbacks,
Mhm.
but there's such a need for quarterbacks, so you go draft a guy, but meanwhile
So one of the questions I have is Colorado upgraded their offensive line this season, and they had a lot of offensive line issues, right? And they blamed a lot of it on the O-line, but I'm not there in the meeting rooms. I'm not watching the tape, but I wonder if it's some of it, and I've told you this before, him calling protections and not really understanding blitz packages.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's some of that.
Hardest position
Yeah.
to scout, man,
Right.
in sports.
Yep.
You know, the hardest.
Mhm.
I don't know what's more difficult.
Right.
You know, and you got a lot of money
Mhm.
is owning one of these franchises, relying on that guy
Right.
to get it right.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they get the money and the blame,
Mhm.
whatever comes with it, glory and disaster.
Mhm. Katie, any more thoughts?
No, I just look. At the end of the day, it's just fun to see these guys grow. Have you guys seen them work out together? And
Oh
train?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool and talk
Oh, yeah.
shit.
And,
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah,
and so they
awesome.
push one another.
That is pretty cool to see.
It is. It's a continuity and a brotherhood thing, and their futures are bright, and
Mhm.
they've already put in work. Cam Ward is a legend down here in South Florida
Mhm.
for the work he put in this year. Shedeur has put in some work in Colorado, Jackson State, and he comes from the Sanders family, and so eyeballs will be on them,
Right. Right.
and so I still think they'll be good for the game.
Yeah. Where would you rank Cam Ward as legend down here?
Legend,
Yeah.
oh, like total University of Miami or just South
Give me
Florida?
University of Miami.
Not enough of a resume. Great 1 year.
But I think he's a name that's going to resonate with
Yeah,
the
he's
fan base for
so you would
many,
look at him.
many
You would
years.
look at him like a John Wall for Kentucky, a one and done
Right.
star
Right.
who blew up and was amazing and did great things.
What could have been, right? Like if you would have had that kid for 3 years down here, what could have been, right? Like that's the thought, right? Like
They should. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
You know where I go with this. They should have won it. It should have been this year.
right.
Yeah.
That's my feelings.
Right.
That's why that's why I go hard. you know.
I feel you.
Have
You know what I
Mario
mean?
Cristobal?
No, I mean, look, man, lost opportunity, man.
Absolutely.
You don't get a chance to
Yeah.
catch lightning in a bottle,
Yeah.
man, once it's gone, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cam's impact in South Florida, he'll be a legend down here forever.
I agree.
Some of the
Absolutely.
celebrations and
Yeah.
things that he brought to the table, the way he was
Yeah.
gunslinging out there.
But just think about the amount of impact he had in just being here 4 months.
Yeah, just
And that
for us.
we're even having this conversation.
And and based on the guys that we speak to and the
Mhm.
information we get from within,
right.
right, the program, the
Yeah.
former guys, right?
Right.
He's all about ball.
Yeah,
Right.
Man, I love that shit.
Yep.
yeah.
Like he's all about ball.
And he holds people accountable.
You know,
his
like,
teammates accountable.
Not to start getting on this other Carson
Right.
Beck situation, but like right off the bat, you got Lamborghinis, shit's getting stolen. There's too much this and that, right? You didn't hear none of this shit with Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Yo, he came in and went to work.
I don't know
Shit,
how I
man.
feel about my college quarterback having a Lamborghini, a Mercedes, and a $5 million home. I don't know if his mind is, about winning right now.
I mean, I just say welcome to Miami. This is what it is, man.
You made a comment on your podcast. He just didn't know the right people.
What do I know?
If he would have been in your circle, does that happen?
I plead the fifth. I've already been canceled, Andy. I can't get canceled again.
All right, so on to our next topic. Devontae Adams, Jets are trying to shop him around, or they're going to release him. Has Devontae Adams' career been a failure?
No, not in my opinion. I think careers go through different stages, different seasons, right? And I think as wide receivers, like when you ascend and you become, kind of considered one of the best, one of the top three, at the position, there's a lot of expectations that come with it.
Sure.
But when you have, when you get traded and you go to a team and they can't get you the ball and there's frustration, and then you get a new team that you go to, and then Aaron Rodgers goes down and things like that, and it's, you can kind of just like lose that value. And so sometimes you might need to, reinvent yourself and kind of take a step back in order to take a few steps forward. So I think, it's a good time. You don't know what the Jets are going to do. You don't know what's going to happen with their quarterback situation and things like that. So if he can either, get waived or traded to a situation that'll benefit him better, I still think he has some good years left.
Right. Now, what are your thoughts on?
I think he's incredible. He's definitely not a failure in any way, shape, or form. Randy Moss went to the Raiders. People forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, he choked out twice that I can remember, and he's still arguably the greatest ever, or top three, right, all time. Jerry Rice, him, and make your own argument. No, I think Devontae Adams is a stud.
Yeah.
I think his shit happens in life, man. You get into the wrong system, you end up in the wrong spot. The grass isn't always greener, right?
Mhm.
And I'm a Steeler fan, so I look at my Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown situation, man. Our offense was on fire. These guys say, I want more money. We're going. One guy goes one place, that doesn't work out. The other guy goes to another place, that doesn't work out. Sometimes the grass is greener, but it's really not. And you jump ship, and in his case, Aaron Rodgers left. Maybe he didn't want to stick around for Jordan Love. I can understand that too. You get comfortable playing with a Hall of Famer. Now you got to babysit a kid who's coming up, even though he had a great year.
You think he regrets leaving that situation with Green Bay? Because Jordan Love looks like a real one.
Grass is greener, man,
Right.
and that happens. Keyon played in the NBA for a long time, man, over a decade. You could ask him. He's seen numerous situations of where it was real good or real bad, I'm sure, without getting into his career, stats or where he's played. That's just what it is. And a lot of times when you're in a system that just favors your skill set, do you really want to go rock the boat? And he was in a great spot with a great coach. Matt LaFleur. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's what happens.
Yeah. So does he end up with Aaron Rodgers again, wherever Aaron ends up at?
Well, now I'm thinking Aaron Rodgers might be the problem. I don't like. Yeah. I think he blew up that Jet season, Aaron Rodgers,
with the coach and.
You get like we were speaking earlier. Keyon says about being a leader. Sometimes it's not you don't have to be the vocal leader. Like Derek Jeter was a leader, but he wasn't coming out and taunting people. He led. He led by example.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers doesn't lead by example. He's a prima donna.
KD.
Well, I mean, look, I always, respect history, and Aaron Rodgers has put in work. Right, whether you like the way his personality is or not, he's put in work, but he's also had some failures. And if you play long enough, you'll have some successes and you'll have some failures. But at the end of your career, you want to make sure you maintain your legacy. You want to kind of go out on a high note. I know he had some injuries, he had a new team, all these different things happen, but it's still Aaron Rodgers. Will he ever be a great leader? Maybe not. But is he considered a great player and a great talent? Absolutely. Do we know if his time are passed or not? It's looking that way. It's looking like it's coming to the end. So hopefully he can go out with a bang, get healthy enough where he can, perform the whole season, play all the games in the season. But if not, you take your hat off, you salute him. He had a great career.
Be interested to see where he ends up at. I don't think he's done yet.
So, by the way, while I said he's a prima donna, I sort of hope he ends up with my Steelers. See, I got a short memory, man. I'm like a cornerback that gets beat, man. I'm ready to come back. Let's go, man.
What kind of impact do you think you'll have on the Steelers?
He's an all-timer.
Right.
I mean, listen, Keon's right. He's an all-timer. He's a Hall of Famer, all-timer, no question about it. But I just, you got to set the example. You have a young team. Sauce Gardner was coming into his second year. Like, all of a sudden, you're sitting out camp. You're coming off an injury. You're sitting out camp. You should have been there, even if you're in the film room doing whatever. Said he's finding his soul in, where one of these caves or whatever he does. But I hope
ayahuasca or whatever. You
Yeah,
ever tried
yeah.
ayahuasca when you were locked up?
No, but I would have tried anything. Listen, anyway, but
So one of the Jets' conditions was they didn't want him going on the Pat McAfee show. He's just putting too much stuff out there. They didn't want him on that show.
Whatever the reasons were, Aaron Glenn said, enough of this bullshit. It's over.
Right.
Because it's on his watch.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers got his already.
Right.
This is Aaron Glenn's chance.
Sure.
Like, he's not fucking jacking off his career for this guy's antics. Like, you know what? He can do better in the community's eyes in New York, going with an underdog type quarterback or someone like that, than going with this guy who's just going to drag and bring him down. Aaron Glenn said, "Nah, this is over."
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm positive.
Time to move on.
Positive.
All right. So Deebo Samuel got traded. Big trade. Got traded for a 5th-round pick. I still can't believe that. What kind of impact does that have for Washington?
Oh man, I think Daniels is going to be very happy to have a hybrid player like that who you can, get the ball to in space. You can throw screens. You can hand it off to him. He's a hybrid player. He does so many different things, and he's hungry. Right? It's a contract year, if I'm not mistaken. So it's an opportunity to earn and, kind of set yourself up generationally. And a lot of times with these fresh starts, it just brings a new energy to a player. And, man, the Commanders, they're right there. They got a lot of talent. They got a lot of pieces. And so I think, man, Deebo on your team brings a lot of excitement, a lot of talent, and a lot of, just proven resume.
Yeah. Nevin, what are your thoughts?
Number of ways to answer this question. Keyon said, first and foremost, contract year. There's no better time to get a guy than on his contract year. You're going to find out what this dude's value really is right now. Washington is there. They're at the doorstep. They were there. They're one knock away from being in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now you get a guy like this, who I don't want to say is generational, but certainly top of the food chain as it goes for receivers. And
He'll
what
do so much, man.
man, he's
just incredible.
he's a great pickup. And even if they don't get him, even if he doesn't re-sign after, they're gonna get the best Deebo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact.
Should he have been traded for a higher pick? That 5th round pick seems a little low for his type
Draft
of talent.
picks are not the reason why they couldn't get more is because he is in a contract year. So it goes the other way.
Got it.
For the
You're
team
right,
that's
you're right.
holding on to it.
I didn't even think about that.
Holding on to that asset.
Yeah.
Well, Keyon could tell you, like when you trade these NBA guys, it's all about
Contract.
contracts. Yeah, you're buying contract. You're like trying to dump bad contracts. So you'll take someone else's 1 year left on a deal, like instead of carrying guys like, you don't want to have like, a Luol Deng situation per se,
Right.
where you're just paying forever.
Right.
So that's why they only got a 5th round pick, and those draft picks are really tough to come by, and that's why teams don't let them go so quick. Because really that's where you build your squad.
Right.
That really is where you build your squad.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Jalen Daniels wins the MVP next season.
I don't even think you're so far on a limb.
That's not a limb.
Yeah. I think he'll definitely gonna be in the conversation.
And
he's tough.
Next season.
And with that statement,
Yeah.
here comes the big word, the expectations.
Right.
Now the public jumps on it.
Right.
I've seen so many teams get sexy, and in the NFL, you can go from worst to first fast.
Quick.
Because the difference between those guys, they're pros, is that. Okay? That's the difference.
Yeah.
And so here come the expectations. They're going to become the sexiest team in the league.
Any more thoughts on the Deebo trade?
No, like I said, I just like that trade for the Commanders.
Yeah, I do too. All right, so we're gonna close with the last topic is Will Howard. They're saying I know you have a lot of opinion on Will Howard, but he had the worst combine in history, is what's trending on X. Nev, have at it.
Well, he does have a national title. He'll always have that. I'm sure someone in Columbus will get him a good job.
KD?
I don't know, man. Those combine situations, it's a big moment, right? And everybody's watching you and things like that. So your body might not be calibrated. You might be nervous. But it also, exposes you if you have deficiencies in your game. And he just didn't come out and have a good performance. I'm sure he'll get some individual workout opportunities and a chance to maybe redeem himself if a team likes him. But I just don't personally think he's a high pedigree quarterback. I think he'll be a backup at best in the NFL. Yeah. But the worst performance by a quarterback of all time, that is not something you want on your resume.
Last thing I want to touch on the whole combine thing. It's not even on our sheet, but I'm going to ask you guys. Isaiah Bond was talking shit, saying he was going to run a 4-1. He goes out there, runs a 4-4, that he was going to break Worthy's 4-2, whatever it was. What are your thoughts on that? Because he didn't even come close to
Well,
running that 4-1. He said he was going to run 4-1-9 or whatever he said. He was gonna run.
Well, everyone's become an internet gangster. I'd say he falls right in line.
He might have read The Secret. was trying to manifest. He was trying to manifest the 4-1, visualizing it, speaking it into existence.
Did he have it on his vision board?
Yeah. Maybe so.
After you manifest, you're supposed to follow through.
Yeah.
He just manifested.
I don't know why you would put that out there, because now you ran that 4-4. It looks slow as shit compared to that 4-1 you were supposed to run. Which 4-4 is no, listen, you're no slouch running a 4-4, but a 4-1, Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, he's going to do better than Will Howard.
With that being said, that's it, gentlemen. Great show. We'll see you guys next Friday.
Airy on the narrative. Best in class, so pray for my peers. Slingshot bullet that's clear. Your weak shots couldn't pierce through bulletproof ears. A martyr, a menace. I'm leading horses to drink and pulling teeth like I'm feeding the dentist. Airy on the narrative.